Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Legit Football NFL podcast. My name is Kevin Phillip Fox. I'm usually the partner in prime. I'm usually the second in command, the co-host role. Brian is not in today, which is just tragic. It's like free agency Christmas. The day the legal tampering period opens, everybody's losing their minds. We have deals left and right. We're going to give you our thoughts on it. We're going to keep you posted as they come in. We're going to be refreshing our phones like Adam Schefter on NFL Live. But to quote a great man, I'm not doing this alone. I'm bringing in my great friend and producer of the show, Anthony Wayner. Anthony, are you excited? Ooh, walk-up music. Hey,
I'm so
hey,
excited.
hey. What's up, Anthony? Another day in paradise for you over there in sunny LA?
Yeah, so it was finally sunny yesterday
Yeah,
after some rain. And
for 12
so to see the
hours.
sunshine after the rain, it reminds me of free agency
That's
because
right.
we see moves, we see like this darkness that some teams have to experience while they miss the playoffs. But
Wow.
then you see some hope. You see that rainbow at the end of the storm. So I think that a lot of moves that these teams are going to be making, that's going to decide a lot of the season. So a lot of what we're going to be watching this season, the football that we're going to be watching, it depends on what happens in this period. That's why this is
Yeah.
so important.
That was a beautiful metaphor to start the show, Anthony. You're in mid-season form. You're bringing the sound effects in, the walk-up music in. You're rounding a corner, my friend. You're a new man.
I like to believe it. I have my soundboard right here in front of me, so I'm
I
ready
love
for
it.
anything.
Same golf jersey, new man. All right, my friends, we are gonna bring you the legit headlines. First and foremost, probably still with all the dominoes falling, this is probably still the biggest news that we've had. The LA Rams have traded all-pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey to the Miami Dolphins, sending a 2000. So the Dolphins sent a 2023 third-round pick and backup tight end Hunter Long for an all-pro corner. Anthony, can I get your initial thoughts on this? Because I think the way I read it indicates how I feel, but I have a lot to say. But I would like to give you the floor for a second.
Yeah, so I heard rumors at first about Jalen Ramsey being traded, and the first team that came up were the Lions. And I'm like,
Yeah.
the Lions, it could be the Lions, and I'm
Hmm.
biased, so I'm like, let's go to the
Right.
Lions. But then
Yep.
it hit me. I'm like, yeah, we need an upgrade in the secondary, but look how young that team is. And there's just a whole
Yeah.
thing, toxicity in the locker room.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey wanted to go to Miami, so he got to go to Miami. He's that kind of player right now. He's
100%.
been in the league long enough to where he gets to sort of choose. He
Yeah.
wanted Miami, so they traded him to Miami. And I think that they're going to find a lot of success there. They did just release Byron Jones, so it's kind of like a replacement for him, but it's also an upgrade.
Right.
And I think that in that secondary that they're going to see a lot of success. They're going to see a defense that can really shut down the pass because of Ramsey. I like his play style. I think Ramsey's a great player. Miami won that trade.
Yeah, his aggression is definitely really important. I think maybe the biggest thing for me as far as um so far the biggest thing for me as far as the Ramsey trade, I have two huge splits, Anthony, because there's part of me that's like he's an all-pro corner. His PFF grade was unbelievable last season, so he's still got a lot of potential. He's still going to go in there and shut teams down. But Anthony, we saw some games and we saw some plays where Jalen Ramsey looked like burnt toast. Okay, now yes. Thank you. That is the exact sound effect that I would use for his performance in week 1 against the Bills last year. I was there. I saw it with my own 2 eyes, okay? Now, it's really important that we not overreact to certain games or certain plays, and his body of work on the season was great. So I think the Dolphins are getting a stud, and I think he makes them better. I think he definitely ups their AFC East stock. I don't think he takes it to, new favorites. And if Rodgers ends up in New York, which spoiler alert, we got another legit headline. Nothing's broken official yet because he's Aaron Rodgers. But there is going to be an interesting three-headed monster in the AFC East. Yeah, I would say three-headed. I don't think the Patriots have done enough to enter the discussion yet. But we're not doing this alone either, Anthony, because our friend, our fearless leader, Brian McFadden, diehard Miami Dolphins fan. When the news broke and he knew he wouldn't be on the show to get to share his thoughts and share his passion, and he would let a Bills fan and a Lions fan talk about the Ramsey deal, it just made him sick. So he sent in a video of his thoughts on the Ramsey deal, a video statement from our fearless leader, co-founder of Legit Football, Brian McFadden. Feast your eyes and ears.
Hey guys, Brian here. Obviously, I'm not on the show today, but wanted to leave you my quick thoughts on the Jalen Ramsey trade from the Rams to my Miami Dolphins. I actually in Florida attending a wedding right when the news broke. So I won't be on the show, but wanted to let you guys know what I thought. So right off the cuff, I mean, what's not to like? They only had to trade a third-round draft pick, a tight end, Hunter Long, to get somebody who's still capable of playing at a very high level, 86 PFF grade last season. You pair him with Xavier Howard, Javon Holland as a safety. You got Vic Fangio running that defense. I think it's clear that Miami is making moves to compete in that insanely tough AFC. And I think these are the kind of moves that are going to help. They needed help in the secondary. We'll see if Tua is healthy. But what's not to like? I love the price. I love the ad. And Dolphins are in it to win it.
Well, it's good to hear from Brian. The first thing that caught my ear was Brian made a good point that they're making moves to succeed, and they already have a roster full of talent. So to keep making moves, to not find a dead spot, to not hit a wall, to keep going and to keep trying to improve, I think that's really big for Miami because they made it to the playoffs, almost beat the Bills. And I think that having that, it's like they're already contenders after the kind of season they had. So for them to keep making moves, are they past contenders now? Are they Super Bowl contenders now?
I think this helps. I don't think in any way does adding an all-pro corner. I mean, he might be past his prime, but like who might have a couple years left in his prime. Like that's not something that's ever going to hurt your Super Bowl chances. I mean, he's going to be better than who they were trotting out last year, and so yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see. Shout out to Brian for creating the time in his week away at Florida to make that video for us. He was swagged out. If you didn't see it on the live, you're gonna have to go check out the YouTube video because we had the sauce. Our fearless leader was saucing in that video. So, but we're happy for him. We're happy for the Dolphins, and yeah, I don't think there's no way that you can slice it where this is a bad deal for them. They gave up virtually nothing.
Right.
A third round pick. I mean, yeah, it's good draft capital, but a third round pick and a backup tight end for an all pro. I mean, you do the math. I mean, they had to pay him. They had to cut him the check. Their cap situation is going to be looking pretty interesting in a couple of years when you got a couple 30-year-olds on the books for $25 million, $30 million cap hits. But that's a problem for future, that's a problem for future Mike McDaniel and future Dolphins brass. For now,
Yeah, it's
enjoy
starting to sound like they want
contenderhood.
to win now. It's starting to sound like they're
Yeah.
like, we're ready to win right now. We think we have what we need. They just got Tyreek Hill. They're gonna have to pay him. They just got Jalen Ramsey. They're gonna have to pay him down the road. Tua, we still aren't exactly sure what's gonna happen to him. He did just get his 5th-year option,
Right.
so they are sticking with him. At
That's
this
pretty
point, I
big.
think it's more up to Tua.
Yeah. The Tua 5th-year option is pretty big news because literally on Friday's show, we weren't sure if he would see a snap in the NFL again. So
Right.
seems like Dolphins brass is confident that he will. And that's big for them. And I think right now, out of the options that are presented, I think Tua gives them the best chance to win. So yeah, let's just hope. I mean, dude, we've seen guys round corners before that looked worse than this and have long sustained careers. So I don't know if any of them have looked worse than this, but that have looked at least this bad. And they've come back and had long sustained careers. So let's just hope that happens for Tua because we say it a lot on the show, but health is nothing to mess with, and his health is definitely a red flag at this point for better or worse. That's the best way you could call it, is a red flag. It could end up being nothing, and it could end up being a death knell to his career. But everybody's got their fingers crossed hard that health isn't the reason why that team doesn't make it. That being said, I like the Ramsey deal. Brian likes the Ramsey deal. Anthony likes the Ramsey deal. I think there's no way you can give it anything but an A if we're doing
Oh,
letter grades, which
absolutely.
you guys know I love letter grades. So I'll throw an A on there just for posterity's sake. And Mr. Anthony, I think it might be time for our next legit headline. What do you think?
I think so. Let's go.
Let's roll. We have Aaron Rodgers. Now, this is to quote the man himself. This is to quote the ayahuasca addict himself, Aaron Rodgers, fresh out of the darkness retreat. He says, "Stay tuned. It won't be long." Now, my goodness, if this doesn't sound like, a freaking EDM producer who's about to drop the single of the summer on some dropping the cryptic photo of him with a crowd in Miami, and he's like, stay tuned, like big news coming soon, like announcement dropping this week. Like Rodgers is just he's milking it in, man. He is freaking taking everything he can get, huh?
He loves it. This is why
It's
he's still here, because he loves this. He loves to keep everyone waiting. The anticipation is crazy. Packers fans are sad. New York fans are excited. He loves it. He gets euphoria from it. And I
yeah,
think when he goes out and plays football, it's no longer about the team he's playing for. It's about who he's passing to. It's about the fans supporting him. He was going down in Green Bay, and we all know that. Once we saw Devontae Adams leave, once we saw them draft Jordan Love, there was
yeah.
bad blood in that organization.
That kind
And
of
I think the
signaled the
New York
beginning of the
media is
end.
going to, and New York media is going to get a kick out of this, and it's going to be amazing. Aaron Rodgers is about to climb his way to the top while he was already on his way. And so
Yeah,
I think that if he doesn't retire, because it's not official yet, he could
right.
still retire. I don't think he will, but that's still a possibility.
And I'm just on some like, dude, okay, stay tuned. It won't be long. But you said that 4 weeks ago when you first talked about the darkness retreat. That is a month old thing now. Like we are now we were like almost guaranteed to have news by free agency
Right.
because that was going to help whatever team he went to compete. So at this point, he's hamstringing the Jets' start of free agency because they're going to have to wait to make deals because they're going to have money tied up in him. Like this is it's so ridiculous. It's so stupid. I'm sorry. Like I really do respect the player. I do think he hit a little bit of a decline last year, but he wasn't like awful. I mean, he
Yeah.
didn't get much help, but his leadership, his on the field edge, and his image, I just think are at an all-time low right now.
Oh, absolutely. He's the biggest diva in the NFL, and you're playing the quarterback position.
He's not even a
Like,
wide receiver.
I know.
Like
Antonio Brown, he got away with it. Like,
how can you
I don't
be
know.
the biggest diva in the NFL at the quarterback position? The quarterbacks are supposed to be the stable ones. They're supposed to be the
Yeah.
ones who are even keeled, cool, calm, collected, and drive the ship out of the way of the iceberg. But Rodgers is not on that right now, man. He's drinking the Kool-Aid. He's drinking his own Kool-Aid, and it's not pretty to watch. But I'll tell you what, Anthony, if he goes out there and balls in New York, nobody's gonna care. That's
No,
100% fact.
absolutely not.
We will just go right back to loving him like we used to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it feels like it's been a while for me since I've like truly loved Rodgers. I mean, I think maybe the beginning of 2 seasons ago when he did the whole "How can you not be romantic about football" speech and was like crying on Sunday Night Football after he let a comeback win. I was like, oh, maybe he is a softie. Maybe I do love this guy. But like I just feel like he just keeps using up all this capital, all this fan capital, all this emotional capital of the people who care about him. And it just turns into like we've said on the show a million times, a saga. It just turns into a melodrama. And I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready for the credits,
Yeah.
Anthony.
Me too. I mean, just like Tom Brady retiring, the era has to come to an end. The Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers thing has to end eventually. We got some young guys coming in. We got a lot of young quarterbacks. Josh Allen, Mahomes. I don't have
Yep.
to name them all.
Lot of studs.
Right. And so Aaron Rodgers, he's old man now. He's old news. Like
Yeah.
he's trying so hard to stay relevant. And I want to tell you right now, Aaron Rodgers, if you want to be relevant, go win games, go make the
Right.
playoffs, go win a championship. Don't lose them, and then you will be relevant.
Yeah.
Staying relevant isn't teasing the entire NFL world. What team am I going to be on? It's going out and winning games.
Yep.
If you can do what Tom Brady did and go to Tampa Bay and win a Super Bowl, if you can go to New York and win a Super Bowl, you're relevant. If
Right.
not, then just retire. You're old news. That's my take.
Yeah, even just compete for like a championship game. I mean, it's going to be tough for him to make the Super Bowl out of the AFC. That's just a juggernaut conference. So, if he just makes the conference championship, I think that preserves his legacy. I think he can ride off into the sunset on that because he didn't even make the playoffs last year with Green Bay. So,
Right.
I think he needs to hit a little reset. Now I will say on the other side of this coin, right? So we're talking about the guy a lot, but the teams, Anthony, that are at the center of this deal, the Jets and the Packers are going to move forward with Jordan Love one way or the other. Either he retires and then boom, it's love season, or they trade him and they get a haul So do you have any thoughts, any predictions on what a trade haul could look like for Aaron Rodgers?
Oh,
I feel like it's got to have at least one first, right?
not a first round pick.
I feel like
I
a
think
first will
the
be in there.
I think the value is too. It's just because of his age. I can't get over
I get it. I
his
do
age.
understand where you're coming from. Yeah.
Because I mean, how many years does he have left?
I think on his deal or like to play?
Like to play, like at his
Probably, I
age,
think
how
two
long do you think he
most.
has?
I think two most.
Okay, so I wouldn't say a first round. If you do get a first round for him, that's draft capital that you're going to win that trade. Losing Rodgers and getting that, you're going to win that trade no matter
I
what.
see where you're coming from, but also a first round pick's a first round pick though. Like don't get me wrong, like you want to have as many of them as you can. They're the future pillars for your team, but
Right.
he's Aaron Rodgers also too, and like he's not his on field play is like not that dipped off. Like I think a first is reasonable, at least one. I hope not two.
You might be able to convince me because how much is on the quarterback and how much are on the receivers catching? Because I saw dimes that Rodgers threw that those receivers dropped.
That's true. And you know what?
Dimes.
In New York, bro, in New York, Garrett Wilson, are you freaking kidding me? Brees Hall, that offense,
Yeah.
Elijah Moore, I think is still there. That's a pretty freaking stacked team, man. That's a team that I don't want to mess with, man.
He was throwing to rookies in Green Bay last season. He
All
was
right.
throwing to rookies. If he's throwing to receivers who have experience on the field, I think he can play better. I think that they can succeed better.
Yeah,
So I think you might have convinced me. I think a first round pick might be
pretty reasonable.
part of that trade.
I do want to just grab a quick little breaking news. Like I said, I would be Schefter. Breaking news. So we have Javon Hargrave to the Eagles, or sorry, to the 49ers. Eagles, Javon Hargrave to the 49ers. 4 years, $84 million, $40 million guaranteed. So that's 21 average annual value. And then we have Mike McGlinchey, right tackle, to the Broncos. So so Mr. Payton and Mr. Wilson are bolstering the protection. There's no contract figures on that yet, but those are some big dominoes. That's a huge offensive tackle domino and a huge defensive line domino falling in free agency today. Anthony, rapid fire thoughts on those deals.
I like them.
Me
I
too.
think that adding
Both teams.
upgrades because yeah, those both of them are upgrades, and adding to those positions, which honestly aren't talked about as much as they
Trench
should
play.
be.
Yeah,
They
you're
are
right.
very
That's trench
important
play.
positions. Exactly.
Hey,
And
we
I
talked
think
about it
having
on this
those players-
podcast. I think nationally
We do.
it's under considered, but Brian's a metrics guy. I'm a metrics nerd. I love me some metrics, and I think we talk
Me
about the
too.
trenches a good deal on this show.
I think that they are just like cutthroat players. They're aggressive.
They're
They're big
hard-nosed.
guys.
Mhm.
If you're a quarterback, you're afraid to play against them.
Yeah, you're
That's the
afraid. You're
bottom line.
terrified of Hargrave. He's a dog.
And if you scare quarterbacks, then you're the best at your position.
Absolutely. So, anyways, really quick, last but not least on the Rodgers thing, Jets are the most SOL if Rodgers decides to retire. Like he would do that team dirty on his way out because that team has been holding the line for him this whole time, this whole period. And now they'd be staring down the barrel of another quarterbackless season with their washed up second overall pick from 2 years ago. And, I think Mike White is a free agent. So they would literally have Zach Wilson again. And what we have on the legit headline, what you saw in the newsletter was that their first pivot, it's not necessarily a realistic pivot, but their first pivot off of Rodgers would be Lamar Jackson. Now, that would be, in my opinion, better, but I think it would be a lot harder to pull off, and I think it would cost you a lot more. So I understand why that's their first pivot because they clearly think they have a contending roster. So they want to make the moves to get a guy who can help them win now. But both of those guys are going to cost you an arm and a leg. Rodgers maybe just an arm, but Jackson is going to cost you an arm, a leg, and an ear. I don't know. I don't know if that's realistic, but I like that they're shooting high. I mean, what I tell you that all the time, Anthony. What else are you going to do? You're going to do what you can to be as good as you can for as long as you can. You're going to try to contend for a championship.
Of course.
I respect
absolutely.
it. I respect
And
it.
it,
So
it says in the newsletter, the Jets have been clearing cap space in an apparent attempt to accommodate Rodgers' contract. In the long run, how's that is that going to hurt the Jets? Because
it could.
Or
It
do you
could.
have the offense that you want? Do you have who you need where you don't need that cap space? You can spend all that money on Rodgers. What do you think about that?
My first instinct is to say that I think you have the weapons there. I mean, Conklin is average to above average tight end. Garrett Wilson's a true wide receiver 1. Elijah Moore is great. I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Corey Davis is going to be a Jet heading into next season. Their line is okay, but Zach Wilson at times was running for his life. I don't know if that's because he holds the ball for too long or if that's an unoffensive line problem, but that is going to be something that I think that the Jets are going to want to maybe shore up as well, especially if they have pouty, side-eye Aaron Rodgers, giving people the look, all the time. So I think it's important that they shore those positions up. But like you said, if they're in cap hell because of this and they don't at least make it to an AFC championship game, that team will be in dire straits. That team will be in a bad way real fast.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
My Detroit Lions are signing Cam Sutton to a 3-year deal worth $33 million.
Nice.
$21.5 million guaranteed.
Let's go, Anthony. That's awesome, man. That is a great signing.
All right. I'm excited. Just adding depth to the roster, I think, is important. Awesome. He's not Hargrave. He's not
he's good.
McGlinchey, but he's good.
Sounds
he's capable, and I think that's important to add to your
awesome.
roster. So this Aaron Rodgers talk is leaving a bad taste in my mouth. So
let's refresh. We have one more legit headline, and then we're attacking our main topic. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at one of the biggest trades in NFL history, especially in recent memory. We saw on Friday, right after we got off the show. I don't know if you guys recall. I'm gonna put on my bragging cap for a second. I said Chicago would go out and get Justin Fields, a wide receiver 1. My prediction was DeAndre Hopkins. That was wrong. But moments after our podcast wrapped, we got word that the Chicago Bears traded the first overall pick and nothing else. The first overall pick. Or was it more, Anthony? I'm correct me if I'm wrong.
It's the first overall
Just
pick.
the first overall pick.
Yep.
For wide receiver DJ Moore, a person who's been underperforming in Carolina, and a lot of people have thought it was on the quarterbacks and not him. The 9th pick, a second, a first next year, and another pick. That's one of the biggest hauls I've ever seen in my life for one pick, and it was to Carolina. So Chicago moves down to number 9. Correct, Anthony?
Yes.
And Carolina moves up to number 1, and that's not all. That's huge news in and of itself, and we'll talk about that till we're blue in the face. I love when the first overall pick gets traded. It's just insane.
Me too.
But league insiders, and Legit Football has the scoop on this, league insiders believe the Panthers will be selecting quarterback CJ Stroud with the first overall pick. Now, that's against consensus. He used to be considered the 2, and Bryce Young was considered the 1. CJ Stroud is apparently Frank Reich's guy. There's just a lot of rumors that that's who they like. And there's good reason. I mean, CJ Stroud has some better measurables. He's had some unbelievable statistics in college. So personally, I've always been kind of a coin flip on Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. I just love athleticism and traits at the quarterback position. So pretty much either way, I was going to be happy. They're both pretty great athletes. But Anthony, let's first talk about the trade. What are your thoughts on the trade?
So the Bears, I think, with getting the number 9 pick and then the number 61 pick in the second round, and then next year's first rounder, and a wide receiver in DJ Moore, I think the Bears might have won this trade. They got what they wanted for that first overall.
Yeah.
Even DJ Moore, I'm a fan of DJ Moore, and I do think it was on the quarterbacks. And I think that the number 9 pick is still top 10.
Right.
That's not bad. You cannot discount the number 9 pick.
No.
And first overall is the pick that everybody wants because you get a whole roster to pick through.
Right.
But in this case, I think with the Bears knowing they're going to stick with Justin Fields, they can focus on that number 9 pick and number 61 pick, and then even next year's first rounder. If the Panthers don't do well with whoever they pick, that's an early pick next year in the first round. So I think that the Bears won this trade. The Panthers do get something out of it because they have the first overall pick, but I think the Bears definitely got a haul here.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And I'm so impressed with Bears brass for pulling this off because, dude, you and me were talking about this the last time we co-hosted the show. The last time we didn't have Brian, you and me talked ad nauseum about what are they talking about trading Justin Fields? He proved he can do it in the NFL. That's something
Right.
that not a lot of people can do. They should trade the pick. They
Yeah,
should trade the pick,
I
get a
mean, we were
haul,
on that Justin Fields train because I saw
reset.
him perform, and
Yeah,
he's good. It's the
yeah.
team around him that isn't.
So you go get him a true alpha wide receiver one. I think more we'll have to before we use throw around terms like alpha and wide receiver one. He'll have to prove himself because he did. I mean, he had some great stats in Carolina. He had some great years, but he did underperform a lot. And that, like I said, it's really hard to blame him for that. I mean, he's been catching passes from Sam freaking Darnold and Baker freaking Mayfield and I can't even recall PJ Walker. Like there's just so many. Carolina's been in quarterback hell for a couple of years. So I'll tell you what, from a letter grade standpoint, this is an A++ for the Bears.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a B+ for the Panthers because can you put a price on getting your guy at the quarterback position? I don't think you can. I don't think you can put a price on it. And so 2 1s, a 2, and a stud, and an extra free pick, to me, that is what it is. I mean, you got to do what you got to do to go get your guy. If Stroud resets the franchise, nobody's going to care what you paid to get him,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on the Bryce Young bandwagon. Yeah, he played in Alabama, but that's Alabama. They're going to be the best no matter what.
No.
Think about CJ Stroud. He's bigger than Bryce Young, more accurate than Anthony Richardson, and he's more of a playmaker than Will Levis. Like he beats out these three guys in his specialties, and I think that in Ohio State they are notorious for putting in bad quarterbacks into the NFL.
Yeah, that's true.
He could change the pattern.
I think he has to. He has to.
And with Frank Reich and the Panthers organization, he kind of matches the play style of Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and I think that
just better though.
Oh,
Hopefully,
absolutely better. But he knows how to use his feet,
right?
And with the Panthers' offensive line not being terrible, he can escape pressure. He can throw on the run. He can do a lot of things that the quarterbacks playing for Carolina couldn't do. And I think
it now begs the question who he's going to throw to because they have such.
And they just got rid of DJ Moore.
They got rid of their best weapon. So we're looking at. I believe they still have Laviska Shenault. He had a lot of promise.
I'm not out on Shenault.
Shenault is a guy who people are out on him because he didn't develop, but he showed amazing promise his first year in Jacksonville.
Well, I mean, you know what I always say: you're not going to develop overnight. You need a quarterback that can throw to you.
The NFL has become so impatient with their talent that guys are cast aside after 1 or 2 seasons, and it's like, man, we've seen guys break out in their 3rd, 4th, 5th seasons even. I feel like you have to give guys a chance, and yeah, Shenault definitely could be unreal. And we've heard from the legit headlines recently that the Panthers are looking to bolster up the tight end position. So if they can go out and get a Dalton Schultz type player or some sort of a stud, who knows? There could be some magic in Carolina next year with Reich, and I think they need to add a legitimate running back. I don't think Chuba Hubbard and Deontay Foreman are really those guys. I think they're okay. I don't even know if they're still on the team. They might have to go re-sign him or bring him back, but maybe they get their hands on a stud running back. Joe Mixon's going to be available.
Derrick Henry's in free agency.
Derrick Henry's
Jamal Williams is still looking for an
Jamal Williams. That's something for us to talk about. I mean,
yes, that's going to be in the main topic. I'm excited.
Okay. Exciting. So yeah, do you want to attack anything else on this one?
So I do have some. Before we get into the main topic, I actually did bring some news. So here's a screenshot from Ian Rappaport. The Patriots are trading tight end Jonnu Smith to the Falcons. As a former big ticket free agent, heads elsewhere and creates space for New England. He did not say who the big ticket free agent is.
I think that's the big. I think Jonnu is the big ticket free agent because they signed him a couple years ago.
I see. Okay, yeah,
I got you. Breaking it down, Rappaport. He loves to be cryptic. I got you.
And so that happened. So that's gonna be a change. I know I've gotten used to watching Smith play for the Patriots, and he's good at blocking. He's a big blocking tight end.
Yeah.
Here as the quarterback market settles, Raiders are expected to be in on free agent quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo when the window opens in 5 minutes. Obviously, it's open now. We haven't seen anything yet, but I can definitely see this being a possibility. What are your thoughts here?
So, thank you for opening the floor. Those 2 bits of nuggets are probably the 3rd and 2nd biggest nuggets of the morning so far, and I can't wait for us to attack the first.
Yeah.
Are we officially in main topic? Do you want to give me a little drop to signify
Oh yeah,
that we're in
absolutely.
main topic? That's my body doesn't know where I'm going until I hear the sound effects. Main topic.
That's
We'll
it.
get little pitch down voices. Main topic. Okay, that's an idea for us, and Brian.
Let's do it. We gotta do
Let's
it.
get it.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, so we'll start with the third. Okay, Jonnu Smith getting traded for a 7th round pick. This trade reminds me a lot of an NBA trade because I think this trade has more to do with money than anything else. I think this is a salary shed. They're a lot more common in the NBA because there's only like 15 players per team, and usually if you overpay a guy, it's easy for you to just be like, "Hey, do you want this guy we overpaid? Just give us like a second, and you can have him, and that way he's off our books." I think the Pats were just dumping the salary of a stud player. Jonnu Smith showed a lot of promise in Tennessee, never really developed in New England at all. Such a waste of money signing him and Hunter Henry in the same offseason. What the hell was that? That was like one of that free agency period. We talk about it a lot on the show. No offense to Bill Belichick, one of the GOATs, but we clown him all the time for that free agency period. Overpaid Kendrick Bourne, overpaid Nelson Aguilar, overpaid Hunter Henry, overpaid Jonnu Smith. That's one wrong from that era that's righted today. Even if it's only a 7th round pick, at least he's off your books. At least you don't have to continue to stress about paying a guy who's going to, like you said, block for you. He was a glorified 6th offensive lineman, and he doesn't have to be. He can go to Atlanta with a young quarterback, Desmond Ridder, or if they bring in a stud, and he can go reset the trajectory of his career because Jonnu Smith has that potential. He has that athletic profile where he could be a great receiving threat. Yes, he's a good blocker, and that's awesome. But I think New England getting a 7th back for him, even if it's just a 7th, I mean, that's very clearly a salary dump. That's very clearly just saying, like, because Jonnu Smith has more potential than a 7th round pick initially, you would think. But given how vastly overpaid he was, I think they're able to right a wrong here and at least get something back instead of just cutting him.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you. And the thing is with the Patriots is they enjoy shopping, not just window shopping. They like to shop. They like to go to the mall with the intention to buy. And I think that they're going to do a lot of that in the draft and in free agency, and getting rid of, I don't know if I like that word, rid of, but yeah, getting rid of Smith, I think that brings in opportunities to bring in other players to fill other places. And Belichick likes to shop, so I think he's going to shop.
Dude, I'm so glad you brought this up because I'm just now picturing it. So they went to Forever 21 and they saw a crazy jacket, like a crazy fresh, like drippy jacket, and they bought it full price. It was like $130. They splurged on this jacket. They were excited. They wore it twice. And then 2 years later, they took it back to Forever 21 and said, "I want my $130 back." And they were like, "Good joke. See you never." And then they were like, "Okay, well, I guess we'll take it to a secondhand store. I guess we'll take it to a thrift store." And they were like, "Oh, we'll give you $10 for it." And they were like, "Okay, here you go." At least we got to wear it twice.
I love the analogy,
right? But tell me that's not it, right? Tell me
that's exactly it. Spot on.
All right, so that's the Jonnu Smith news. Thank you. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna live with that one. I love the rim shot. And then, my friends, we have remind me again, what was the other trade of the day? Or no, Jimmy G, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Was that Jimmy G? So Vegas was actually sort of. I had talked about Jimmy G to Tampa a while back because I think that it's the best fit. But I think Vegas makes the most sense from like a money standpoint, from a team building standpoint, from a McDaniel standpoint. And I had crystal balled. I had predicted. I wrote down Vegas. I believe Brian threw that in his predictions with Greg throwing him to Tampa, which my heart says Tampa, but my head says Vegas. I don't know if either of those is going to happen today, but if that happens, I think it's a great deal for Vegas. I think and for Jimmy, because I think I was saying on the show, and I was surprised it was just me and Greg. Adrian and Brian were anti-Garoppolo has earned a starting role. I personally think he absolutely has earned another crack at being a starting quarterback in the NFL. Anthony, what are your thoughts? Break the tie. It's 2-2 right now.
Yeah, I can't think contender at this point. I think he's more bridge. I think that they need to find somebody else. He's been to a Super Bowl.
Disrespect.
He played in a Super Bowl.
He's played in a Super Bowl, and he's been to 3 NFC championships in the last 5 years.
But where do you credit the coach, the offensive coordinator, the team that he is around him, because Brock Purdy did the same thing, and he's Mr. Irrelevant, and he found a way to do it. So how much credit do you put on the team? How much credit do you put on the quarterback?
That's fair. You're my dude, but you say Goff took the Rams to a Super Bowl all the time. Do you not?
I do.
So
I mean, it's a fact.
Okay, so there you go. So
But he's younger. He's younger. I mean,
That's
you have
true.
to put. I mean, Jimmy G's been in the league for a long
but
time now.
But the quarterback position matters, man. It matters the most. I mean, wins
course it
aren't a
does.
quarterback stat. Don't get me wrong. Team success has so much more to do with other things. The quarterback is the one variable.
He just spent a season on the bench because he got hurt, and I think you have to take that into consideration.
But injuries are sort of fluky. I mean, yes, I understand that durability is a real thing, and the best ability is availability. I agree with all that stuff. Best ability is availability. Love that saying. So cliche, but so true. But it's important to not discount his success. You know, I mean, Greg said it himself. He lives in NorCal, and the NorCal people were loving Jimmy G at the time when he got hurt. Just because it was Purdy who ended up being the one who took him there doesn't mean it wouldn't have been Garoppolo had he been healthy. You know, it's definitely an interesting situation because I like Garoppolo a lot. He's my dynasty backup. If that should tell you how I feel about him. So I'm rooting for him to get a starting job. You know, I'm rooting for him to go out there and compete for and earn a starting job because that would be great for my dynasty team. But also, you know, he's Jimmy G, man. He's perennially underrated. I'll say that. Wow. Okay. There you go. See, I'm reacting to myself. We're legit football's at that level of meta now. So last but not least, thank you for sharing your thoughts on Jimmy G. I couldn't disagree more, but no judgment. Last but not least, the biggest news of the day before we dive into the other juicy stuff from the main topic, the biggest news that broke this morning. I do have official word from our founder on this one as well, Brian McFadden, the co-founder of Legit Football. Mind blown emoji is Brian's official quote on this news. But Austin freaking Eckler, stud running back for the Los Angeles Chargers, has requested a trade after failing to have his contract demands met. Now, Anthony, I don't know about you, but I have Austin Eckler in my top 3 dynasty running backs. I project him to be a top 3 fantasy finisher, at least for the next 2 or 3 seasons, especially because of his team. So him leaving, it could swing him all the way to 1, and it could lower his stock. I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, we love thought exercises on this show. So, I mean, I would love to hear your thoughts on him requesting a trade, and then I would like to hear some hypothetical destinations and some packages that you would see for Eckler.
So the first thing that comes to my mind isn't Eckler's success, because he's going to succeed wherever he goes. He's just that kind of athlete. But what's going to happen to the Chargers?
Yeah.
They're going to be missing a really big piece.
The most important piece.
The most important piece. And Austin Eckler, I agree with you. He is so good. He's top 3 probably.
I love the way he plays.
And he can catch, he can run, he can miss people, he can get separation. He's fantastic on the running back position, and he can catch and run for a touchdown. And I think that leaving Los Angeles, I think if that's what he wants. You know, if you have a player who wants something, you give that player what he wants.
Yeah.
But then what do you do as an organization as a replacement? Do you draft a running back? Do you sign one of the crazy running backs in free agency?
That's what I was going to say.
You're saving money because you don't have to pay Eckler now because he's trying to get traded.
True.
So that does add room to upgrade possibly. I don't know if you can upgrade from Eckler, maybe Derrick Henry, but I mean, do you start over? Do you start rebuilding that position? So the first thing that came to my mind was, what is Los Angeles going to do without Austin Eckler? Because Eckler's going to succeed anyway.
Yeah. So what I was thinking, I really liked that point. I think that's a good point. So I just got a notification really quick. Give me a little ding, Anthony. The Raiders are zeroing in on signing quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. As per Mike Garafolo. And as per my sleeper alerts, thank you, sleeper.
I'm glad we can cover this live.
It's so fun, dude. I wish we were going to be here all day. So that's big. We already talked about it. So if you want to know our thoughts on that, rewind the podcast about 4 minutes, and you'll hear all our thoughts on that. Because we already talked about that. Yep, it's official. It looks like it's official. I'm getting flooded right now. We have the official jersey swap photo of Jimmy G and the Raiders, so it feels pretty legit.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, right. Ladies and gentlemen, back to what I was saying. Couldn't be a better year to need a running back. So if the Chargers do ship Eckler, save a bunch of money, and then go out and pick up one of those. So Anthony, there's like 30 names on the list, right? If you go down, cross up the first 10, because you don't want to pay a running back crazy money. It's just not smart in today's NFL. Go to like 11 through 15. Look at like Devin Singletary. Come on. Devin Singletary in that offense would be nice. Go to like a Foreman. Pick up a Deontay Foreman. And then let Isaiah Spiller, your backup that you just drafted last year, let him get some run. And they love Joshua Kelly. They love their backup. I'm starting to not hate this for the Chargers either. I'm starting to think this is a good deal for both sides.
And then what bothers me now is, will they go after Jamal Williams? The reason why that bothers me is because I still want him in Detroit. I want him on the Lions. So but Jamal Williams does end up at the Chargers. I think that he will find success because he's going to take over that position completely. He'll be a RB1 immediately.
Yeah. So really quick, this is kind of important. So are we ready to like roll on to the names that we have on this list?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, sweet. So we talked about the big pillars of the day, which were the Garoppolo, Jonnu, and Eckler. Now we're on to what has happened. So I'm going to rapid fire these if you're cool with that, so we can get into the juicy
I have
stuff.
them right here. We could talk about it.
Yep. So we have Daron Payne, 4-year, $90 million contract, re-signed with the Commanders. We have Bobby Trees, Robert Woods, signing to the Texans on a 2-year, $15.3 million contract. We have Shaq Thompson reworking his contract for a 2-year deal with the Panthers. We have Jawan Johnson, Saints tight end, big resigning, given that they just got Derek Carr, because he was great last year. He was the Athletics' most improved tight end. We have Quincy Williams, linebacker, 3-year, $18 million deal with the Jets. We have my Buffalo Bills. Now, I got a little story here because I'm gonna tell you, I'm pretty pissed. I woke up to a notification, Anthony, yesterday that said the Bills have agreed to terms with an all-pro linebacker. And that's all it said. And that was from the Bills app. And I was like, it's Tremaine Edmonds. They're going to announce he's coming back. He's staying home. I got excited. I was getting ready to go buy a jersey. And I opened it up and they're like, we agreed to a contract extension with Matt Milano. And I was like, that's one way to word it, you freaking trolls. Why don't you just say it with your chest, huh? Look, I'm happy. I love Matt Milano. I think he's better than Tremaine Edmonds. If you had to make me pick one or the other, I would have picked Milano, but I want both.
I personally think he's better.
They're both great. So 2-year extension through 2026. Well, he's locked up. He's not leaving.
No.
We'll do the Leo DiCaprio, Wolf of Wall Street. He's not effing leaving. Sterling Shepard back with New York on a 1-year deal. Great for him because his injuries have just been so bad. So good for him. Good for the Giants for making him whole, cutting the check for him. Very happy to hear that he got paid, despite, I think it's been ACL, it's been Achilles, it's been this, that, and the third. He's 30. Poor Sterling Shepard. What a lost career. He could have been a great, and it feels like he's just been in injury hell. So that is our transaction log. We're going to keep updating that as we go. And I have a legit football TikTok to shoot in a little bit. I'm going to go with the headlines that they gave me from the day, but keep an eye on the legit football feed we'll obviously be keeping people posted on things as they pour in. Now that's anything catch your eye there or anything you want to talk about there before we move on to speculation?
I think that these re-signings are crucial for each of these teams.
Yep.
Daron Payne, I definitely see him being 20 quarterback hits last season.
Mm-hmm.
You get to the quarterback 20 times, you're going to make $90 million.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the Commanders knew. So that's huge for that defense, especially with Chase Young on that side. And I think that that's going to be good for them. Robert Woods back, staying with the Titans. I think that the Titans need someone like Robert Woods, a veteran on the field.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of young guys there. So he's a good mentor. Shaq Thompson, he's a stud too. Stats, not really, but he's very athletic.
Yeah.
He can get all over the field.
He's good.
I think that he has potential on that Panthers defense.
Yeah.
Juwan Johnson, I'm a big fan. Oh, sorry. Did you have thoughts?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, the Panthers defense is very, very. You need good linebackers, so good for them for locking one up.
Yeah, and Juwan Johnson, I had him on my fantasy for a while. He got me decent numbers for the tight end spot, so I think that's good for the Saints, especially with their new quarterback, Quincy Williams, and then Matt Milano. Just watching Matt Milano play, he's insane. Like he
Yeah.
almost looks a like a skill player linebacker. Like
Oh
he could
wow.
play running back. He could play tight end. He's
I
that
love
kind
that
of size.
take. He's got those quick feet. He kind of flies
Exactly, he
around,
does.
right?
And that's
I
really important on the linebacker position.
I love Matt Milano because he's a converted safety. Not a lot of people know that, but he's a converted safety who when he got drafted by Buffalo, I believe he was a 5th round pick because he was so undersized for the linebacker position. He really quickly became like an impact player because of the way he flies around the field. Also, Anthony, I do want to say just for fun, the first time we broke down Matt Milano on this show, you called him a future Hall of Famer. I love that. I don't know if it's true or not. He could be. If he has a great next 5 years, he could be a future Hall of Famer. He's playing on the Bills through 2026. I could see them winning a ring or two in that time. And if he puts up the numbers that he's been putting up, he could be. I'm just throwing that out there. I love that you said that. It kind of cracks me up because I think he could be. It's a bit of a projection, but I'm all for positive projections with the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I like watching the Bills. They're a fun team, but I do think that they have gaps to fill. Once they can fill those gaps, I can see years of success.
Can I get the ding, please?
Yeah.
3 years, 67.5 mil for Jimmy G, and it's official.
Wow. Okay, it's official.
So
Jimmy G is a Raider.
That's a very, very reasonable deal for a starting quarterback. So he got low end starter money. I wouldn't quite call it bridge money. That's like 20. So let's do the math really quick. That's what, 23 mil a year, roughly. That's not bad. That's really not bad for somebody who might start for you for 3 years. Oh wow.
I got something.
Let's go.
Miami is giving former Jets quarterback Mike White a 2-year deal worth up to $16 million.
Oh, let's go. Oh, Brian's going to be so
White
happy.
Is the Dolphin. All right.
Let's go. Brian's going to be so happy. That's a good deal. That's a good backup deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So we've attacked our free agent transaction log.
Yes.
We are keeping everybody up to date as we go. This speculation portion might age like birthday cake in the rain. It might age like low-fat skim milk that you forgot was in the back of your fridge that becomes a science experiment. But here we are. We're going to give it a shot. We're going to put our reputations on the line. Anthony, can you give me another main topic drop, please? Main topic part 2. Okay. Now, we have some names here, and Anthony and I are going to put on our crystal ball caps once again. The terrifying crystal ball, the crystal ball of doom. So Baker Mayfield is the first name we have, and Buccaneers are interested. They're thinking about bringing in Baker to compete with Kyle Trask. Pretty interesting. They're also looking at quarterback Jacoby Brissett. So we have potentially a Mayfield Brissett revolving door at QB there that they might sign, and we have Trask waiting in the wings. What are your thoughts on that?
I like Baker Mayfield. I've always liked him since he got drafted. His attitude, maybe not, but his play style. I like watching him play. Even that it was like a 98-yard drive to win the game.
Oh, that will always be one of my favorite football moments. Yeah,
I kept as a joke, of course, kept calling him the GOAT because it was just such an incredible drive. And I like watching Mayfield play, and I think that he deserves a starting spot, but he needs a team that will support him, and he hasn't had that. He didn't even have that in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I think that his potential and development is very important, and I think that he can beat Kyle Trask out.
Me too.
I think Trask is gonna back up Mayfield, and he's gonna end up in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Trask was a 2nd-round pick formerly, and it is now going to be his 3rd year, and he hasn't really even smelled a chance to compete. So if he gets a shot against one of these two guys, you kind of know what you have with Mayfield. You kind of know what you have with Brissett. This might be a Trask being behind what's door number A, as we like to joke on the show. Trask might be what's behind door number A. Bless you, Anthony. So it'll be very interesting to track between those two players and Trask. I like Brissett the most out of the three, but I think Brissett has the lowest ceiling. I think he has the highest floor, though, which if you're Tampa and you're trying to contend, you might want a high floor. He can execute the offense decently. He played great in Cleveland last year. We were banging the drum for him on last Friday's show. Me, Adrian, Greg, and Brian, who all watch a lot of football. What do you think about Brissett? Do you like Brissett?
I like Brissett, and honestly, I was down on him this year. I'm like, he's not going to succeed. I mean, like, where he's going to be? Where is he going to be? Cleveland's not going to win until Deshaun Watson comes back, and I was wrong. I was so wrong, and I'm like,
I was better with Brissett.
I was like pleasantly wrong though. Like I was happy to be wrong.
Yeah,
because to see a quarterback who's like his, you're doubted, and when I see a quarterback that's doubted succeed, I like that story. It's a good story.
That's probably why you're so in on Baker Mayfield right now.
Yeah. Probably a lot of it. I like a good underdog.
So, is there more on that for you?
No.
Okay, sweet. So next we have Dalvin Cook, running back. This one, I don't know if we have much to say about this. I mean, there are trade talks surrounding Dalvin Cook. We talked about this. I covered this on Friday's Legit. Because I mentioned how hot the block was for the Vikings right now. We have freaking Thielen's on his way out of town. Cook's on his way out of town. Zadarius Smith's trying to leave. It's not looking great for the Vikings right now. They're going to have to settle things down. They're going to have to make some transactions. Let's just really quick. You got a landing spot for Cook in mind?
You know what? Yes, I do. Get that crystal ball up.
Thank you. The crystal ball of doom.
All right, I'm gonna look into the crystal ball, and I'm gonna say I see Austin Eckler going to Minnesota and Dalvin Cook going to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Oh wow, I love that.
And there's gonna be a running back swap.
Wow,
both teams want out, but both teams need running backs.
So dude, if Eckler goes to Minnesota, he becomes the best fantasy running back ever because
absolutely.
Oh my goodness, him and Captain Checkdown himself, Kirky. My goodness. Hit the bell, please. Hit the breaking bell. Ladies and gentlemen, this one calls for a celebration because my Buffalo Bills have just signed one of the best interior offensive linemen available, Connor McGovern, to a 3-year, $23.5 million contract. Brandon Beane does it again. I've been waiting for Buffalo. Thank you. I've been waiting for Buffalo to bolster their offensive line for so long. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I love Ryan Bates. I did really like Roger Saffold when they brought him in, but he had a very disappointing season. We've been saying on this show they need to get Josh Allen some protection, and Connor McGovern is a stud. I am so thankful that he signed with Buffalo. That is a great signing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and re-signing that such a important position, especially on that offense.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm a fan. Yeah. I played the music because that's also how I feel.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on Dalvin Cook? Where do you think he's
Dalvin Cook? I'll give you a quick one because, like I said, there's some juicy names on here. Dalvin Cook and the Vikings are they're running the risk of being definitely in a worse position next year than they were this year. I would say just rapid fire Carolina. I'll say Carolina throws something.
Okay.
You like that? Because I think they need a running back, and I think he would fit really nicely on a Frank Reich offense. I think he would take some pressure off a young quarterback. I think right now he's just a runner. I don't think he has the same catching chops that he had before. Let's look at Texans left tackle Laramie Tunsil. So the Chiefs didn't tag their stud Orlando Brown left tackle, so they're kind of in dire straits when it comes to the offensive tackle position. And there's rumors that they're targeting Texans left tackle Laramie Tunsil in a trade. Tunsil is a dog. 1 sack last year, an 80 PFF grade. That's like above average at the tackle position. What are your thoughts on this? I think it's huge for the Chiefs if they can pull it off.
I think it's huge because the left tackle position is so important, and Laramie Tunsil is probably one of the best in that position.
Yeah. He's a
He's a
stud.
veteran. He knows the game. He's a big guy. He can really protect the quarterback, and he's one of those tackles that the quarterback buys dinner for because he protected him so well.
Literally.
He buys him
Literally.
a car. And it's like he's one of those guys that can really like. I've seen him block 2 linebackers at the same time. I've seen Tunzel double block, and
He's a stud.
it's amazing. And I think that if the Chiefs, they might be contenders again because he's really going to protect Mahomes and give him a lot of opportunity.
Yep. So I agree. I think I hope to God, with all due respect to Kansas City fans, I hope that doesn't happen as a Bills fan, but it would be a great move for them. Ryan Kelly on the Colts. Rumors are swirling that he's available. He's 29 and he struggled last year. He gave up 5 sacks, which is not great from the center position. You really want the interior to be more stable than the outside, because the outside deals with the edge rushers, the inside deals with the tackles. It's not normal for centers to give up more sacks than tackles, but
Right.
alas, Ryan Kelly did not have the best season. Still a great player.
Absolutely.
Rumor has it he's will be released if he can't be traded. So that's not ideal for the Colts to have a center giving up 5 sacks. So we'll see what happens. I don't know I don't know where you even start with a framework for a trade for him, because he is 29.
Yeah.
But good
Maybe
offensive line help is so hard to find. So if
5th rounder, 6th rounder,
I think maybe
something late.
I think 5th or 6th might feel 6 might feel a little low. I would say 4th is most I'd go, but it would have to be a late 4th, and I might want to also push it to the future. But yeah, that's an interesting deal. Ryan Kelly for a late pick, I would consider that for sure if I was a GM.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But not much to talk about there. Quarterback Jameis Winston. This is a little bigger. He's one of the memeiest players in the NFL. If you ever just are bored on YouTube, just look up Jameis Winston funny moments, and you'll just have yourself a ball.
King.
That dude is what'd you say?
Interception king.
Oh, true. Never forget the 30 and 30 season.
That was
All-time legendary season.
Hey, he put up numbers though. You can't discount that.
Dude, like crazy yardage, crazy touchdowns, but 30 picks randomly, just insane. Never forget the 30 for 30 season. There's rumors that the Broncos are interested in bringing in Jameis as their backup. I like that deal for them a lot.
Me too.
And also, I mean, if the wolves pull over Russ's eyes and he is just the biggest bust in NFL history, the only player to ever play their way out of the Hall of Fame, it could happen. And then Jameis would be a great signing, a great option to throw him in there and replace him. I like that. I like that deal. Other than that, he would probably get a restructured offer from the Saints, and then he would be their backup as well. So he's only pretty much looking
to
at
be a backup
jobs.
either way. But I do think that he has the capability of being a good backup, to where if you had to bench your starter, or if your starter gets hurt, he is able to still win you games, or at least get you close. And I think that Jameis Winston, with starting experience, makes him a very reliable backup.
So I'll throw this out there. I'm going to go to the last one before we go to the next one, because the one that's next is the one that we have the most meat to talk about. So I will throw this out there. Draymond Jones, defensive tackle. There's mutual interest between himself and the Browns. I think we can all agree we're big fans of the trenches here. Draymond Jones has proven to be a very effective trench player. Everybody would love that for them. Anywhere he goes, they're going to be getting a stud. So I think the coup de grace of our free agency speculation segment is going to be running back Jamal Williams, because he plays for your team, just broke Barry Sanders' record and got love for it, which you wouldn't expect a player to get love for breaking a Barry Sanders record, but Jamal Williams is that kind of player. What do they call him? Swage Kazakage, the leader of the hidden village of the Den. Jamal Williams,
yes, that's
power
exactly.
back.
You nailed it.
Did I nail it? Wow, that's wow.
I think you nailed it.
That's power back extraordinaire. Freaking fantasy darling of last year. Won people leagues with 18 rushing touchdowns or something insane like that. According to Tyler Dunn of Go Long, the Lions are interested in bringing him back. Smart, as they should be, but they have some competition in the Jets, the Bengals, and my Buffalo Bills. Now, Anthony, I'm going to let you start with this because this
Okay.
is probably a sensitive subject for you. But what are your thoughts on Jamal Williams back to the Lions, the other destinations, and in general?
DeAndre Swift had a limited workload, so someone had to pick up that workload, and his name was Jamal Williams. So Jamal Williams was brought in to be a backup, and he ended up being a main part of the running game because they flipped back and forth. It worked for the Lions. The Lions were fourth in offense, and a lot of that was rushing. And he scored so many touchdowns, beat Barry Sanders' record. He was all over the place
He
all
was
the
so
time.
efficient from the
He can,
inside the
yeah,
5.
he can fight for yards. He keeps his feet moving. He can get separation. He can catch. He can do everything. If the Lions do not re-sign Jamal Williams, you need to go after another running back. If you
Yeah.
leave that position empty, the success that we saw at the second half of the season is going to go away, and it's going to all be right back to square one. We can't have that in Detroit.
Yeah,
The
I agree.
The Bills know how to use a good running back.
Mhm.
They haven't had it in so long, and so if
Mhm.
they get Jamal Williams, I think that'll be really good for him. I know Naeem Hines just got re-signed.
Yep, little restructure, I believe.
Yeah, and which is good for cap space. I love it when they restructure.
Oh, yeah, me too. It's the
The
best.
Jets, I don't know. You have Brees Hall. Do you need to
Yeah.
pay a quarterback or running back like Jamal Williams? Because he's going to be asking for money. You're going to have to pay this guy because, he just beat a record. You're going to have to pay him.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he won't go to the Jets, but I think you can pretty safely assume that that's his last choice of the 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously, he probably loves Rodgers. If he goes back and plays with Rodgers again, that would be interesting. I think the Lions and the Bills are the biggest contenders here. The Bengals are a dark
Yep.
horse. I wouldn't count them out because they're going to lose Joe Mixon, and they have Samaje Perine right now, who is a stud-ish. I don't think he's like that good, but in that offense, I think anybody can perform, and we saw him be a good pass blocker and a good pass catcher on third down. So Perine, I don't necessarily know if the Bengals are going to be dying to add another player, but I guess Jamal is a complimentary runner in that sense, which I think the Bills would also like to pair him with Baby Cook, do a little 1-2 punch. Personally, as a Bills fan, I'm dying for this to happen. I'm so sorry, Anthony. I just have to get that off my chest. I would love to have a personality like Jamal's in the Bills locker room. He just brings that energy.
He brings an energy for
He's
sure.
so funny and charming, and like he had the Naruto thing, and he did the whole Pokemon thing with the reporter, and he did the whole, the Lions are my rebound, but it's a good rebound. He's just so funny, dude. He's just he's so entertaining, and he's a good running back. If you pair Jamal Williams with like a Baby Cook or a Samaje Perine or a Swift, that's a great electric 1-2 punch in any of those. I think they're all good situations for the player. They're all good situations for the teams. It's just going to come down to who's the best fit and where's the price right. And I think the Lions probably have the best chances of landing him because
I think so too.
I think he's
gonna go
most
back
likely going to be what happens. Yeah, I think he's going to go back because they all love each other, and he loves Campbell, and there's a culture there, and he probably doesn't want to leave that.
Right. I do want to bring up HBO's Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Last year, when he was giving a speech before practice, and he had tears in his eyes, he was getting emotional. This man is passionate.
He's so
in this
passionate.
game.
Yeah.
The last week I texted you. I said, "Where's the passion at?" And it's become about money.
Yeah,
I don't
remember
think
that.
Jamal is about that. I mean, when
No.
he went to Detroit, he even said, he's like, the Packers, they wanted to break up. The Lions, they wanted to buy me dinner. And it was just, it's so witty, and it's amazing.
He's so
and
witty.
his attitude about it was just incredible. And I think he will re-sign with the Lions. That's my crystal ball prediction.
I think so too.
He
Mine
has
too.
been talking. He knows the guys in the organization, so he's already close to them. There's a connection there, and I think that he will resign.
Fingers crossed that Buffalo can make a run for Jamal, because I do just love him. But if Buffalo misses out on Motor, no more Devin Singletary in Buffalo, it's possible. I mean, but if Devin Singletary comes back on the cheap, I'm not going to be mad. I think the running back market's going to get reset by all these guys who are, trying to, get paid, like Austin Eckler, Dalvin Cook, all these guys. I think they're all going to, potentially change the way that the running backs are paid, at which point a player like Devin Singletary, who's always been good but never been great, I think he becomes a huge value.
Oh,
you might be able to
absolutely.
get
I
him
agree.
for less than $5 million a year, which I might pull the trigger on if I'm Buffalo because you need to spend money elsewhere. I'm stoked they got an interior offensive lineman, Anthony. I'm stoked. I can't
Oh
even
no,
tell
I
you.
don't blame you.
As far as the transaction log and the speculation log, we are officially done. So at this point, we are in overtime. We are at official water cooler talk. So anybody who's looking for structure or Anthony and myself's A game, this is where you turn the podcast off because it's still running and I'm gonna take one last look. I'm gonna take one last Adam Schefter look. I
Yep,
see
I'm looking on Twitter right
Anthony's
now.
Adam Scheftering right now. We're both gonna be Adam Schefter on NFL Live. You can't judge us right now for this.
It's not juicy, but former Jaguars offensive tackle Jawan Taylor is signing with the Chiefs.
I would say that is pretty juicy, actually. Hit the bell. Jawan Taylor heading to the Chiefs on a 4-year, $80 million deal. That's very $20 million a year for Jawan
So
Taylor.
does that cancel out Tunsil then?
I
Is
think
that
that
who
takes
they're going
Tunsil.
for? That's who they're going for on tackle.
I think that takes Tunsil out of the conversation for tackle for the Chiefs. And also, former Buffalo Bills backup quarterback Case Keenum is heading to the Texans on a 2-year deal.
Oh,
Probably to
yeah,
be
he's
the
still
backup
playing?
of whoever they get. I know, right? Like I actually like Case Keenum a lot. He
Me
was
too.
a fine backup. I mean, there wasn't really much there for me personally. Yeah, okay, good stuff. I think at this point, all the flooding of news has slowed down. I think this is a good place for us to maybe bow gracefully into the night.
Yes.
Right off into the sunset until Friday, where we will just have all the tea for you
We'll have
guys and
so much to talk
just
about on
break it all
Friday.
down and
I'm
get
so
Brian's thoughts
excited.
on what we talked about today. Definitely gonna have to catch Brian up on everything because we got our saucy co-founder living it up in the Sunshine State, right? Florida's the Sunshine State, right?
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
good stuff. It's also the humid state. I will be heading there in April, and I'm telling you right now, I'm already prepared to be drenched in sweat the whole time I'm
Yep,
there.
I'm gonna stick with Southern California.
Yeah, I prefer the dry heat personally,
Yep.
but everybody's got their thing. Nothing's better than an upstate New York fall. I promise you that. If you haven't been to upstate New York between the months of September and November, you got to go. It's beautiful. The oranges are oranger and the yellows are yellower than anything you've ever seen.
Absolutely.
My friend Anthony, this has been such a blast, such a privilege to host with you. We do miss Brian. We cannot wait to get him back. Friday's show is going to be just the bomb.com. Thank you to anybody who listened. We appreciate you as always. You guys are the backbone of what we do here. I'm going to go make a TikTok and be on the lookout for more legit football content. We're really grinding. We got myself and Rachel Smith and working around the clock on content. We got Anthony, the producer, always grinding on making sure that the show is fire with the sound effects. Brian, the co-founder, everything that we do over at Legit Football, we do it for you and because we love to, because we enjoy it. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed having myself as your showrunner today. I'm happy to do it whenever I can. And yeah, my guys, this has been such a blessing. Anthony, you got anything to say to the people on our way out?
This is what I have to say. Good luck out there. If your team's gonna dip into free agency, best of luck to you.
Fingers
Best of
crossed
luck.
for you.
And we will talk about it on Friday. I'm so excited. Jamal Williams to the Lions, please.
Hey,
Jamal,
fingers
come
crossed
back.
for both of us. Fingers
Yeah,
crossed for both
seriously.
of us. One of us is going to be happy. One of us is going to be disappointed.
Final thoughts. It's been a juicy off season already, and we're just getting started.
It's only going to get crazier.
Yes,
ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Legit Football Podcast, and we are out.